Yo guys, what's up? It's WarSpirit. Today is a Let's Talk ESL video. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I hear you say we've got some Goliath gameplay in the background. Playing against actually some tier 4 people pre most recent balance patch, so some tier 4 nerfs coming in there using the Goliath on Armory. It's a pretty good map, I actually like this map a lot, and it always seems to come up every time that I am playing as a monster. I actually haven't been playing a lot of monster recently, more playing hunters, actually playing Mortal Kombat a little bit as you saw from a previous video, so you know, just not finding the time to really focus on my monster gameplay. So I want to talk about ESL a little bit today. They introduced a brand new rule today, which hasn't actually been played out before on PC, so this is actually rules that are being pushed through by Turtle Rock Studios, so that's pretty cool. This new rule that I want to talk about today is a pretty cool rule that is sure to receive its fair share of controversy in next week's ESL Cup. So as normal, for competitive Evolve, there's a sort of pick and ban phase. Teams take turns at banning out some maps, play those maps out on their hunters and monsters side, and then it gets down to the point where both teams are usually tied at the end of the series, and it has to do a best of one tiebreaker where basically one team on a certain position in the bracket gets to choose whether they play hunters or monster, and usually that team takes the win in the tiebreaker simply because of their position on the bracket, which has been a terrible system and has been terrible since launch. It was just a bad system that was very quickly taken up by ESL and has been very slow to see any sort of change come into play. For our first tournament that we ran in the Sith Clan, we actually used a group stage to sort of eliminate this tiebreak process, which meant only tiebreakers would be seen in the semi-finals and the finals, and basically you had to have both a strong hunter team and monster team to actually get a place in the semi-finals or finals. But for some strange reason ESL refused to do sort of group stages and will only do single elimination brackets, which isn't good for anyone. So this new rule, developed by the guys at Turtle Rock Studios, has seen some changes where they want to introduce banning picks from another team. So basically the highest seeded team would get the choice to either pick which side they want to play, monster or hunter in the tiebreaker, or they would get to choose to ban some characters from the enemy team, and the enemy team would be allowed to pick if they could play hunters or monsters then. So what it is basically if a team says, okay, we're going to pick monster for this round, then the other team would get to choose to ban one monster. If a team decided to play hunters, or if they decided to let the other team pick a side and that other team decided to pick hunters, then the other team that was playing against the team that decided to play hunters would get to choose to ban two hunters, and these two hunters had to come from a different class. So they would say maybe they would ban Torvald and Griffin, for example, and then the match would play out as normal for the tiebreaker. So it takes away a little bit of advantage from the team that gets to pick which side they want to play on, and it means basically if you pick a monster, your monster has to be capable at playing at least two monsters in the game, which is something I've wanted to see for a long time, and a lot of top level monster players are very good at playing more than one monster, sometimes more than two monsters, and I think a lot of the other monsters out there really need to start looking at being able to develop that, especially now with this new rule set, which is really going to hurt them in the tiebreaker if they decide to play as their monster. So overall, actually, I am pretty happy with this rule. Hopefully ESL implements it correctly and has a bit of clarity in their rules for it, because a lot of the times there's a lot of confusion in ESL regarding rules simply because the admins, their first language isn't English, so they can't actually write decent rule sets in English. I think this one's helped a little bit because the TRS guys actually typed it out for them and provided an example situation for them, so hopefully teams don't have a problem being able to understand this. The only thing is that it still has an advantage for one side of the bracket, because one side of the bracket gets to choose if they want to ban hunters, or if they want to ban monsters, or if they want to pick their side, so that team gets advantage of being able to choose one or the other. A faster process and taking away this sort of choice option for one team would be that basically left side of the bracket picks a side and right side of the bracket picks bans. So overall I think the rule could do with a little bit of fine tuning, and I think that would be something that needs to be added straight away before we even test out initially, because once a rule gets set in stone and once people play one tournament, it's very hard to get rules changed in competitive, very hard. There's been so many suggestions to change the time limit from 20 minutes down to 15 minutes, but ESL just simply haven't done anything about that yet, because people are still signing up for their events and thinking, okay, we're getting sign-ups, that means people are agreeing with these rules that we have. And it's not really the case, it's just the fact that ESL is pretty much the only competition out there right now. There is some stuff going around about some sort of developer run league or tournament system for Evolve, so I'm kind of hoping that actually ESL dies completely and this sort of new competition will take over, because it's just, ESL is a bad organisation, and I think everyone who plays in ESL realises that ESL is a bad organisation. It was really bad for Titanfall. They actually just killed competitive Titanfall through ESL, and I don't know, it feels like it's going the same way for Evolve. People that were playing in ESL because there's like, oh, a little bit of cash prize on the line, they take the rules to really extreme levels, which just takes a lot of the fun out of it. And I think honestly the ESL admins are just overwhelmed. They're hosting these events that are just way too big for them. There's like 1 or 2 guys running the events that are incredibly hard to reach. They've got pretty much no permissions to update the rules. They're releasing rules via email and forum posts because they can't update the actual rule pages. They're supposed to be this big professional organisation, but community run cups always seem to be better than ESL cups. I really hope the devs of the game are as frustrated as people in the community are about the way ESL is handling competitive Evolve, because it's really not helping their game at all, the way ESL is doing stuff. Last weekend's tournament, yesterday's tournament, was, I feel, an absolute disgrace. What happened? Basically a team known as Apex Black, and to right I'm going to name and shame them. They're kind of a team that's known to be always within conflict in rule discussions and protests in ESL, but this weekend they were playing against a new team that was in Evolve tournaments. They'd only played twice, and Apex Black is a team that plays every week, and this new team they were playing against was actually really good. They managed to pull off a win against Apex's monster player, and a really convincing win at that. So what Apex Black did was basically said when it got to the tiebreaker that it was their team's choice to pick which sides they got to play. It basically wasn't their choice to pick the side. They even told the other new team that an admin had told them that this was the correct way to do it, and then this other team was like, okay, well, if an admin says so, then yeah, sure, why not? And they played that match out. It's just downright cheating, and that's the sort of thing that goes on weekly in Evolve ESL, and it's just wrong. The other team eventually found out like this shouldn't have happened, and they start messaging admins, and admins are like, well, you should have messaged us within 10 minutes of the match closing, so now we can't do anything about it. So this team that cheated their way into the finals eventually won 100 euros, didn't get disqualified, didn't suffer any repercussions, didn't get any penalty points. They just cheated their way into the finals and got away with it for free. And that's basically ESL in a nutshell right now. It's not pleasant, but you just have to sort of deal with it. I don't know, it's weird, it's messed up. So I'm hoping things, hopefully we see something else step up and take over from ESL at some point for Evolve. It might not be coming soon enough, unfortunately. That's my thoughts on ESL so far. Pretty good, right? Thanks very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.